Hello, my name is Kristen Bolden, and I'd like to welcome you to the other side of history. Now, the world has a golden rule. It's whoever has the gold makes the rules. God also has a golden rule, but it reads like this, and it's found in the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 37 through 39. And it says, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. End of quote. Now, it goes on to say in verse 40 that on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. End of quote. In our last talk, we talked on how loving and patient Jesus was, even under persecution from his own family. I have a story that I would like to share with you in this talk, and it is about loving your neighbor as yourself. Now, there was a very beloved and popular man named James Murray. He was a favorite of the city in which he lived. He possessed a youthful face, and no frown ever seemed to disturb his brow. Each morning he went about calmly doing his business and greeting everyone with a cheerful word and a sunny smile. He was both a kind and a very prosperous businessman. So Mr. Murray was also an extremely modest man. He was actually embarrassed when he was called on a luncheon of the commercial club to tell the secret of his rise in the business world and his success in life. All that I have accomplished, he said, rising, all that I am, I owe solely to the fact that in my early youth, I realized that the underlying principle in life is just plain, simple kindness. A kindness that comes from the heart. It is the following of the golden rule of loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. Just how I came to realize this so early, I can best explain by telling you the story of a boy named Jim. Now, Jim was an orphan, and he was the butt of the whole town. He was 12 years of age, but small and undersized, and he could never remember having a kind word spoken to him in his whole life. What he was accustomed to were harsh words and suspicion and rebuffs. As a consequence of this hard life, he was a shrinking, pitiful little creature. The more he dodged people, the more suspicious they became of him. The more suspicious they became, the more he sneaked away and he kept out of sight. Jim did have one earthly possession. He had a dog that cringed and shrunk almost as much as his master. Jim was not cruel to his dog, except in words. He was harsh in his tone of voice, and he said unkind things to his dog. One day, Jim was walking down the street, and he saw a bundle slip from the overloaded arms of a little lady that was just in front of him. She stooped to pick it up, but as she did, other things that were in her arms also fell down. So Jim, he sprang to her assistance. He gathered up the bundles, and he replaced them in her arms. "Thank you, dear. You are a nice little boy," said the lady in a kind voice. As she left, she gave Jim a bright smile. Jim was totally amazed, and there was a strange, choky feeling that passed over him. those words were the first kind words that he ever remembered hearing in the whole 12 years of his existence. He stared after her. He knew she was the busy little dressmaker who lived in a small cottage on the outskirts of the town. He watched her until she was out of his sight. Then Jim, he whistled to his dog, and he made straight for the woods and a stream that wound around the town. He sat down on the bank of the stream, and he did some thinking. "Thank you, dear. You are a nice little boy." He pondered. "Come here, Tig," he commanded his dog. The dog, he slunk to his feet. Then Jim lowered his voice in imitation of the kind lady and said, "You are a nice little dog." Now the effect on Tig, it was actually electrical. He pricked up his ears, and if a dog could stand at attention, Tig did. Even a dog likes it," said Jim. "Well, Tig, I don't blame you. It is nice. I won't yell at you any more." And Tig, he wagged his tail joyfully. The boy continued to think, while the dog sat watching him. The boy pulled out a piece of a broken mirror that he had in his pocket, and he looked at himself. He was covered with grime and dirt. He went down to the water's edge, and he scrubbed it off carefully, almost painfully. He looked in the mirror again, and he scarcely recognized himself. He stood erect, and he looked up instead of down for the first time since he could remember. A feeling of self-respect awoke within him. It was at this moment that the whole course of his life changed. He determined to be worthy of those kind words that were spoken to him by that little lady. He also determined to pass kind words on to others. Mr. Murray, he paused. There was not a sound in the great dining room. His tone was low and sweet, and almost reverent, and it had aroused the interest of his hearers. They had actually forgotten all about the luncheon. "Gentlemen," Mr. Murray continued, "I was that boy. This, your city, my city, was that little town of 40 years ago. Our plant, it stands on the spot where this kind lady stood when she planted in my life the first seeds of kindness. Today she sleeps in the cemetery of an old country church. It is a tribute to her memory that I today have told you this story." Now, Proverbs chapter 25, verse 11, it says, "A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pitchers of silver." Words, they are powerful things. They can speak truth, or they can speak lies. Words can wound, or words can heal. Words have started wars, and words have resolved conflicts. Words have built great things, and words have torn great things down. The internet itself, it is a repository of trillions of words. It's been said that in the female brain, a woman uses about 20,000 words per day, and a man uses about 7,000 words per day. Of course, the most important words are those that are found in the Bible, God's Word. God ends the Bible with a very important warning, and it's found in the chapter 22 of the book Revelation, and it's verses 18 through 19. It says, "For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book, if any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book, of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book." The shortest verse in the Bible is found in John chapter 11, verse 35. And it says, "Jesus wept." The very longest verse is found in Esther, and it's chapter 8, verse 9. And it says, "Then were the king's scribes called at the time of the third month," that is, the month Sivan, "on the 3 and the 12th day thereof, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and the deputies, and rulers of the provinces, which are from India unto Ethiopia, 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language." End of quote. So that's a long verse. Now, there are thousands of predictions that have been made in the Bible, and thousands of verses of prophecy that have already been fulfilled. There are also thousands of promises and commands in the Bible. Now, Isaiah chapter 8, verse 1, it gives the longest name in the Bible. It says, "Moreover, the Lord said unto me, Take thee a great roll, and write in it with a man's pen concerning Mahershal al-Hashbaz." End of quote. So, Matthew chapter 12, verse 37, it says, "For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." End of quote. Now, in John chapter 1, verse 14, Christ is called the Word. It says, "And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us." End of quote. So Christ is our example, and his word is the reflection and the revelation of his character, the character that we must have. If we have Christ's character, we will not speak while angry. We will not gossip about the failings of others, or even allow others to speak such gossip to us. We will respect those who are considered less by human standards. We will express gratitude for any favor or service that is given to us. We will express sympathy for others' sorrows. We will show appreciation for others' good work. We will not talk about our personal ailments. We will strive to look on the bright side of the circumstances of our daily life and seek to carry a cheerful face and to speak cheerfully and hopefully to all whom we meet. We will speak and act truthfully, living with honesty towards God and to our fellow man. Now, this is what it is to love thy neighbor as thyself. There is a power in words, and this power is for good or for evil. Let's use this power of words for the good. I hope that you have enjoyed this little talk. If you have, I would encourage you to click on that like and that subscribe button. Leave your comments. I just am thankful for you listening, and I hope that you have been blessed by this little talk. And if you have, I would encourage you to go back and to listen to other talks in this series. So, God's blessings to each one of you, and I will see you in the next talk.